Hello everybody, welcome back to Stray. We just parted ways with Momo. He has gone back through the sewers, back to the slums. We are going to continue onward and see if we can't find more of the outsiders. I said a couple of videos ago that this gunk really grosses me out, and I couldn't think of what it sort of reminded me of. And you know what it does remind me of is Lord Jabu Jabu's belly. This place is crawling with zurks and eggs and all sorts of absolute nastiness. You get an achievement in this chapter if you're able to play all the way through without ever zapping any of the zurks, which shouldn't be a problem. It does make this chapter easier, but it's not going to be insanely difficult to do without. So in this first corridor you can see that's covered with eggs. Instead of running all the way through, we're going to keep an eye out for a path to the left. And don't even worry, just run right through all the eggs. They'll hatch, but they can't reach you. And in an attempt to get you, they'll actually all die. So do not worry, no need to use your light. We wanted to come over here because there is a memory. The sewer system, yes, I remember now. Clean water was scarce. The city was supplied by huge machinery that dug deep into the earth. Just like everything else, it was rationed out to sustain people during times of drought. The scientist showed me the blueprint of the water tanks. They were huge and could contain a whole building in them. There are only 2 memories in this chapter. There's only going to be one place for us to scratch. And because this is another sort of dangerous chapter where we're running through zurks, it's relatively short. I do find that any chapter where there's not a lot of exploring and it's a lot of running tend to be a lot shorter. We should be able to finish up this chapter as well as chapter 9 in this video because they're both very short. So, you know, we're just hanging out, doing platforming. Moving around like we own the place, no big thing. And then when we get here, we're gonna want to run straight ahead and sort of veer a little bit to the left. There's gonna have to be a switch that we pull. It's a little bit difficult to see when you have to navigate through all of these damn eggs, but you can see there that even though I was absolutely covered in zurks, the game is extremely generous with how much you can get grabbed before you actually get completely overtaken. In this section, I recommend running away from the zurks who are chasing you and running into the eggs. The eggs just take way too long to hatch before those zurks will actually start running towards you. So run away from the ones that are actively running, run into the eggs, and then you're out. Easy, simple, no problem. Once you're on this pipe, you're going to want to go left. It looks like a dead end, but it's not. There's a very sneaky collectible over here. This substance grows in all places where there are zurks. What is it made of? It seems to pulse as though alive. Do you think we're inside a giant organism? It's frame chilling. I like that instead of bone chilling. And that is a really good question. We were told that the zurk started out as a sort of bacteria that mutated and they started eating things that were not just garbage. They started eating metal and other materials. So it kind of makes you wonder. I'm also not sure if it's ever explained why there's all these eyeballs coming up all of a sudden. But it's definitely creepy, and it does sort of add to the lonely kind of dystopian feel that this game sometimes has. In the chapters where we're not really talking with anybody, where there's not any robots to talk to, you definitely get this horrible dystopian all alone type of feeling. And again, here we are in another section where we have to avoid the Zurks. Lots and lots of eggs. So once again, we're going to run through the eggs. I'm going to veer to the left first, and I'm actually going to go around the outside. Because what we need to do is we need to hit these two keypads on either side of this gigantic gate. So by going around the outside, I can either go back the way I came and avoid any Zurks in that direction, or I can go forward, go through these eggs, and go all the way around, which I think is what I'm going to do. And they do give you lots of points where you can jump, which will get you away from the Zurks as well. So this section, not very difficult because they give you so many choices on where it is that you get to go. I would say the most difficult part of this whole underwater sewer section was the part with the switch. You could see I got very, very overwhelmed there. And I was probably close to death, but everywhere else here is pretty simple. We're going to go through the gate, and then before you get too crazy and excited and go on underneath that gate, stop over here and scratch on this mat. It is the only spot to scratch in this chapter, so do not miss it. Give it a nice, good scratch, and then continue on. And we are almost finished. So this chapter ends with a bit of a bang here. B12 coming in and saving the day like the good pal that he is. And this is going to be our final Zurk chase of the game. So if you don't like Zurk chases, then you'll be done with it after this point. I don't really have a lot of recommendations for this chase because it's fairly easy. At the end there, I think I just got grabbed because I was zigging and zagging a little bit too much. Just zig and zag, but don't slow yourself down doing it. And then in these sections here, just try to go in the opposite direction of where you see Zurks. Pretty straightforward. I do wish that the Zurk chase achievement in Chapter 2 allowed you to do any Zurk chase without taking damage, because I think that would have been the easiest one to get through. Very, very simple. Well, thank you, B12. I hope he wakes up. Let me just paw him a couple of times. And he's back. It was dark and I was alone. It felt like I was back in the network. But you saved me. Thank you, friend. Well, you saved me first, so thank you as well. Drawing that much power was rough on my core. The defluxor is completely destroyed now. We'll have to be careful. Yeah, tragically, because we were only able to use the defluxor a little bit anyways, we can now no longer use it. If you manage to do that entire section without once using the defluxor, you will get the achievement. And that is it for Chapter 8. As soon as we come out of this pipe, we are going to segue very, very nicely into chapter 9. This looks a little bit more peaceful. Hello there. Wow, these guys aren't running and being afraid at our presence. That's kind of nice. Traveler from the sewers. We haven't seen one of you in ages. Are you the one who contacted us earlier? The little outsider? Balthazar, the outsider, has been expecting you. He's meditating at the top of our village. Oh, well, wonderful. I'm more of a guest rather than an intruder this time. And so this is the beginning of chapter 9. We are going to get a big part of our plot in this chapter. This machine, the scientist I assisted used one of these. He was sick. This was his last hope. He walked into the machine. But I wasn't with him. He was alone. What was he doing? He uploaded himself into the computer and then everything was different. But the upload, something went wrong. He was stuck for hundreds of years. Until a little cat appeared. Was it? It was me. I was the scientist. I was human. I need a moment. Yeah. So B12 is having a little bit of an identity crisis here. I don't think it's that much of a twist or a surprise. For me, anyways, it was fairly obvious that he knew a little bit more than he remembered. And that it was possible that he was human. I think it's possible that at some point a lot of these robots were human, although I actually don't know that for sure. Because a lot of the robots we run into act more like robots. They act more like they've been programmed a certain way. But if you look at some of the robots like the Outsiders, they act more human. So it's interesting. It does make me wonder how many of these robots are robots and how many of them were humans once that uploaded themselves into the network. What else have I forgotten? I must have had parents, friends. What happened to everyone? I wanted to open the city, but is there even anyone left to save? Well, if you've been in the network for hundreds of years, buddy, I hate to break it to you, but I think everyone you knew is probably long gone. Now, at this point, he won't allow you to really interact with anybody. So if you try to interact with anything, collectibles, memories, robots, anything, B12 just needs a moment to put himself back together. So the best option is to continue climbing upwards and to go and talk to Balthazar. I love his setup. Very funky. Hey, don't you know not to interrupt a fellow during meditation? Oh, it's you. You were with Momo when we received that call earlier. I'm glad to meet you at last, little outsider. You know Momo and Doc, so you're already familiar with us outsiders. I miss them. Their memory brings me peace. Momo stayed in the slums. I heard you helped find Doc. And Clementine, she's in Midtown. If you still want to see the outside, she's the one who can get you there. Apparently, she had some kind of plan to leave the city. Here, take this. I wrote her address on the back of this picture. Alright. To reach Midtown, climb up our little village. It should be easy for a dexterous one like you. If you manage to reach the outside, you will be the very first. I'd wish you good luck, but you don't need it. I believe in you. Well, thank you. Interesting that he's sort of uploaded his consciousness back into the network, or at least that's kind of what it appears like, being attached to a bunch of monitors like that. I'm sorry for shutting down earlier. I'm human. Probably the last in the world. Now look what's left of me. So much has come back to me. How much have I forgotten? Maybe if we find Clementine, we can restore my memories and get you back home at the same time. We can go back down and find out more from the companions, or head onward to Midtown. If you are doing a speed run of this game, this chapter I think takes you less than 5 minutes, because all you have to do is talk to Balthazar, climb on up, and you are good to go. That's pretty much it. You just talk to him and get out. But we do have some memories to collect, and we also have some optional sort of miscellaneous things. Now, you can collect these stuff without talking to the quest giver if you know what to look for, but that's no fun. We're just gonna go and talk to them first and then head back down. So you would just keep climbing up onto that pipe to leave, but we are gonna speak to this robot who's doing some gardening here, named Mallow. Did you know that Aunt Clementine taught us how to grow special plants that can live without sunlight? I have a huge collection of them. Do you want to see? It's still missing some colors, though. I'm missing a yellow plant, a red one, and yes, a purple plant. If only someone small and agile could get them for me. Oh, don't you worry, Mallow. I will come back with your flowers. You have a beautiful garden. I wish I had a green thumb, but I absolutely do not. I kill everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the bucket right down. And this will bring you down one level to this restaurant. And we can grab the yellow flower by walking onto this pipe. And for reference, because we didn't actually go to the restaurant earlier, it's right by Balthazar. Right over here by this bucket. So we're going to go down another level. And I don't think there's anything over here. I think the buckets just bring us down a couple of levels. So we're going to go back over this way. This is where we climbed up. And we skipped it earlier because we weren't allowed to look at it, but there is a memory here on this wall near the TV. This language, the companion robots made it up from scratch. How impressive. I remember it happening when I was in the network. I don't know when exactly, but at one time, all the communication started to switch to these symbols. I was stuck in a computer and alone for a long time. So, I translated every symbol and word one by one until I was able to understand everything. Now that I'm out and I know their language, I am curious to hear all they have to say. Which is sort of more evidence to lean towards, I guess, that not everybody would have been human. Not everybody would have uploaded their consciousness. Some of them are just robots. Near this memory, there is a tree here that we can climb up on. Assuming the game will give me the prompt. It's being very finicky for some reason. I don't know why. Anyways, this big, beautiful tree with these lovely purple flowers. We're going to go ahead and pluck one of those. And then we can come over to these robots playing Mahjong, and in typical naughty cat fashion, we can jump up on the table, destroy their game. That will get you an achievement, which is kind of fun. Sorry, guys. I had to do it. Please forgive me. And then if we take this bucket down to the very, very bottom level of this area, you can see that there is a tree with some very bright red flowers. And we're gonna take one of those. So that is basically it for this chapter. We just need to return the flowers, and it's on our way up out of the area. So even if you're not doing a speed run and you're doing all of the optional stuff like I am now, this is still not a very long chapter. It's very, very short. The only thing I have not done in this chapter is scratch anywhere, but I believe there are some rugs a little bit higher where I can scratch. There is also this couch, but I am still unsure whether the couch counts or not, because they seem to give you the couch and a rug at the same time. This rug over here is actually one that we can scratch, so let's just scratch both to be sure. Just because I can't be sure, but that's okay. It's better to be safe than sorry. Now that we have our scratching out of the way, all we need to do is climb back up and we can leave. And climb up one more ladder. Return her flowers to her and then get out and go upwards to the famous Midtown that we've heard so much about. So we'll just go ahead and hand Mallow all of the flowers, and you can see that they will put them in with the rest of their plants, make it a little bit more colorful. Very, very beautiful. You found them all. Thank you so much. Here, as a reward, take my badge. Yay! We get more decoration for our little vest. It looks so good with it. Well, take care now. See ya, friend. Oh, thank you, Mallow. I'm glad I could help. I'm glad that some of these robots seem to have joy in doing little things, you know? Playing music or looking after plants, whatever the case may be. And I do think the flowers that we got really jazzed it up a little bit. Very, very pretty. That is it for this chapter. We can just hop on the pipe and continue on our way. We're going to go up, 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 very, very high. Keep climbing, so much climbing. And eventually we'll get to a point where we can actually cross on over. And then this will take us to Midtown finally. If you look up, I was almost fooled for a moment when I walked into this chapter thinking that there was a little tiny sliver of sunlight or something, because the village is so nicely lit and there's so many beautiful plants and so much wildlife, but tragically you can see that it's still just lights. Still no sunshine. Obviously no sunshine if they live in the giant dome that they're trying to open, but we came from just a random hole, you know? So I thought that that's what was happening when I first looked. This is a subway station. I had completely forgotten this kind of transportation existed. You could ride to anywhere in the city. People used to take it to go to work. I used to take it too. Every morning after saying goodbye to my family at home. I remember I was doing this for them, but they're gone now. It was so long ago. They wanted to see the outside, but does that even matter anymore? What happened to them? What happened to everyone? Yeah. I'm sorry, buddy. So we have our picture of Clementine, which we can show around to some of the robots in Midtown. That is going to be our next objective. I'm basically going to walk all the way up to Midtown, but not actually enter it, so that we can have a nice, fresh start in our next video. One thing I will do to end this chapter off, though, however, is when you come up the stairs, if you look immediately over to your right, there is a memory that's glowing. There are so many books here. The Turing Test, The Ethics of Artificial Intelligence. I recognize some of these. Did I have a library? I remember nothing was quite like the smell of books and the turn of a page. Amen. It was a feeling, almost like comfort. A book was like spending time with someone. Absolutely, B12. I love reading, and it is such a comfy, cozy, comforting thing. You are absolutely correct. So we got that memory to start things off, and then this robot sitting on the rug, you are able to nuzzle up against. And if that is your 5th robot that you've nuzzled, you will get an achievement for doing that. There were 4 in the slums that we nuzzled against, and this should be your 5th. If you've missed a robot, don't fret, because there are more options coming up in Midtown. It's not like those are the only 5 robots in the game and you've missed out. We will be continuing on into Midtown, and I will be pointing out some more spots to nuzzle as we continue on. I've just gotten myself a beautiful save, which is absolutely perfect for me. We are going to stop it here, and next time we will carry on and continue into Midtown. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope that I will see you next time.